of a position as humanly possible. The problem is that he's also much worse. He's got an unbalanced position. Congrats. Check the box. But it's also +1 in White's favor.
Yeah, but this is what we said, right? When you're facing must-win territory as Black, you're literally choosing between poisons, right? Playing mainline theory at the highest level always allows for lines that are just known to be forced draws, almost in any opening these days, right? I'm not gonna be too general with that, but the truth is the reason you see these types of approaches when players are in must-win territory as Black is because whether it's E5, what do you got? Berlin, Sicilian, you can get Rossalimos and all types of variations that are very forcing, even main lines of the Najdorf. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't when you lose with the white pieces to start a mini match. So I'll say this, as far as must-win territory goes, I agree that Hikaru is just worse, but this isn't the worst must-win territory he's been in before.
And the engine often overestimates these types of structures because now that Hikaru has just played the move E5, we have more of a King's Indian structure. And Denis Lazavik actually does not want to allow this closed center position, which I totally understand. The computer often gives like a +1 advantage, but sometimes it overestimates it. It can be a little bit myopic when it comes to Black's kingside attack. So Denis Lazavik, maybe he'll play the move E5 here. I'm really attracted to the move E5 in this position because if Black has to play D takes E5, and I don't really see an alternative, you get a queen trade, you get a capture on E5. Denis Lazavik is thinking exactly along those lines. This is the luxury of being able to make a draw. You can essentially guide the game in the direction that you want. A6, okay, knight b to D4 looks pretty good. I think if Denis plays knight back to C3, Hikaru will castle queenside and try to trade on his own terms. I still think that's an equal endgame, but at least you get a little bit more meat on the bone there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna quickly analyze what you said because I think it's actually a really instructive point in terms of how to play for must-win chess here. In this position after E5, a lot of players, I think, would say, okay, if I'm only playing for a draw, it's okay for the position to be closed. But that would have been the opposite of what you want. Despite the computer saying White is doing great, you're giving Black a free roll in a closed position to slowly expand and maybe build up an attack. So this is a really heads-up play to not allow the closed position, despite what the computer says, and to force the game down a much more just direct path with the pieces being traded. So forgetting about the engine eval, engines love positions where you have space and comfort. I think that from a practical perspective, Denis made the right choice. But to your point, here goes Hikaru. He's castling queenside, and he might not even trade queens. If you take here, maybe he finds a way to just not take the pawn and keep the queens on the board.
No, but he did. I mean, ED6, Queen D6 is on the board, Danny. And at first, I was with you. I think, this is just an equal endgame. But no, actually, I think Black probably has the upper hand if the queens are traded. I actually now kind of have soured a little bit on Denis's position because why? Because Black has this bishop on G7. That's an incredibly powerful bishop. And after the queens are traded, White's got that pawn on C4. That's going to be a long-term weakness. Black's rook could even slide over to C6. And remember that White can't easily play the move B3. You would love to play B3 and connect your pawns, but you're always going to experience problems with that knight on C3. So Denis is actually pausing here. I'm not convinced that he's so happy with that endgame. I do think that he should trade queens here. I don't think that he should keep queens on the board because his king is quite compromised. But he's got his work cut out for him here. Hikaru definitely has chances in this endgame.
Well, as much of an uphill task as it is to win on command with Black, if you were to choose, one player in the world to have to do that, Hikaru is at the top of the list, right? Obviously, you think of Magnus, you think of Hikaru right after for a reason. So I agree with you. The more we look at it, despite my applauding of Denis not just going for the closed position, Hikaru is giving himself the best possible chances. Look, objectively, White should be okay here. He only needs a draw, but the more this game goes, Hikaru's going to defend this pawn, or maybe he'll just take and really make sure that he's got enough of an imbalance to squeeze here.
I think he has to try, as you're saying, Danny. Knight takes G5, bishop takes G5, and bishop takes C3, ruining White's queenside pawn structure. Of course, you're trading more pieces, and you're getting the game closer and closer, potentially to a draw. And he's got to figure out a way to develop his knight. No, knight back to d8. Hikaru feeling that no, bishop takes c3, probably traded too many pieces for his taste. But this is a very artificial way to keep pieces on the board. Knight to d5, bishop to f4. And this is already looking pretty nasty for black. Hikaru taking a huge gamble here. And I think it's about to backfire. I think it already has. Now you can't play c6 because of knight b6 check and bishop f4, which picks off the rook on d6. White's next move is essentially pre-moving bishop f4. And I mean, just visually, you can tell that Hikaru is in massive trouble here. He needs a big mistake from Denis. He needs an anxiety mistake from Denis in the next couple of moves. If he doesn't get one, he's very likely to go down in flames in this game as well. Knight f6, but okay. Oh, Denis has a huge tactic here. Bishop f4, rook d7. Then you take everything on c7, and you have knight takes f7 at the end of the line. I think he spotted it.
Wow. All right, we got to analyze that again. We're going to stay right here. This is maybe Hikaru Nakamura's Chessable Masters. This is it. If Denis spots this, bishop f4, rook d7, Danya's tactic, everything gets traded on c7, and you sacrifice temporarily on f7. Boom, goes the dynamite, rook e7, and after takes, White has a rook and a couple pawns for the two minors and really is in no danger of losing this endgame.
Exactly.
This could be what the doctor ordered. We'll see if Lazavik spots it. He's played bishop f4. Hikaru's on the clock, and he sacrifices the exchange to avoid this.
Yeah, but this is complete desperation. Bishop to e5. Maybe Denis can get away with that, but I would just go rook e2. The Denis Lazavik approach is just to play practically rook to e2, guard the b2 pawn. Are you really worried about knight takes f4, g takes f4? Absolutely not. There is no reason that Denis should lose this game now. In a classical game, in a regular blitz game, in a Title Tuesday, he would be playing for a win here with White. He would never accept a draw in such a position with White. Of course, paradoxically, it can actually add some pressure when all you need is a draw, because that's when you start feeling the nerves and you start feeling the proximity to a huge result. But Denis has to keep his composure, has to keep some time on his clock. And I'm voting rook e2 and then get your other rook into the game, Danny. I cannot fathom how black ever wins a position like this. He's simply down an exchange.
Yeah. I'm with you, although, again, I've unfathomed it before, and Hikaru has pulled it off. But in this particular case, it's a little different when your opponent is also playing with house money, right? They only need a draw. It's a lot easier to force something out of nothing when three results are on the table. And in this particular case, all Denis has to do is strangle the life out of the position. Okay, he does go for bishop e5, which was the best move, according to the computer, although it is a complicated one after f6.
Well, f6, bishop d4. f6, bishop d4.
The point is the pawn is pinned.
And knight c6, there's rook a to d1. This is actually what he was spending time trying to figure out. This is filigree precision for Denis Lazavik. He's got this in the bag. I mean, Hikaru's out of chances. Bishop d4, c5 is an attempt to deflect the bishop, but simply rook ac1. Rook ac1, b6, and maybe you even have bishop takes c5 there, just like ending the game. I mean, really, anything at all should be winning here.
Simplifying the position after rook ac1, b6, bishop takes c5. If everything is traded, and in the end, black has to play knight c7, here comes rook e7. And Denis Lazavik is moments away from sending Hikaru Nakamura to Division 2 in the Chessable Masters, our first event of the 2024 Champions Tour. So look at the drama. Look at what's going on. Yeah, Denis Lazavik still in complete control against Hikaru Nakamura. That rook on h6 is ugly AF.
No, that's it. b4. This is a winning on the spot because b5 is coming. Hikaru cannot prevent his minor pieces from getting entrapped on the 6th rank. He's resigned. Lazavik wins the game.
Wow.
What a result. 2-0. He didn't even need a draw. He just crushed Hikaru out of the opening.